Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs football show. From the Wrestling Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson. Coming to you after the end of the 2023 season, Louisiana Tech falls in its season finale 56-17 to Jacksonville State to end the year 3-9 overall and 2-6 in Conference USA. Before we get deeper, just wanted to thank the Northern Louisiana Medical Center for sponsoring Tech in 10 this season. It's been a long season for a lot of us, and just want to thank Northern Louisiana Medical Center for valuing this post-game series, and appreciate them for sponsoring this coverage this year. So, again, Louisiana Tech is 3-9 for the third straight year. The second year of the Sonny Cumbie era ends the exact same with a pretty disappointing finish, and the Bulldogs enter another offseason in search of answers. I think today's game, kind of similar to last week with Sam Houston, and even really the week before that with Liberty. The last 3 weeks, certainly if you want to get into the X's and O's, you can. I would say maybe find another article or somewhere else to read that specifically. I did a post-game report, obviously, that'll be up on the Wrestling Daily Leader website by the time that this video goes up. But I think this game in particular, it doesn't really require a whole lot of in-depth analysis. It's the same Louisiana Tech team that we've seen all season, and nothing really changed, which is why I was surprised that Sonny Cumbie laid this game out in the terms that he did on Tuesday, where he said that, in his words, that this game would be revealing in a lot of ways for him as a coach, for his coaching staff, for the players that are on this current roster, as to what fight they had left. Those are his words. That was his assessment of what this game meant on Saturday. Obviously, the Bulldogs had no chance of going to a bowl game or contending for a Conference USA title. So really, this game against Jacksonville State, it was about pride. It was about seeing what players were worth fighting for, worth sticking around going forward. And I think you saw in the final score, and if you were watching it live today like I was, I didn't see a fight out of this team. Sonny Cumbie mentioned post-game it was an embarrassing effort on all three sides of the ball. You saw a lot of just missed tackles, guys just flat out whiffing. Offense was going 3 and out its first 4 drives. You finally get a sliver of, there was no chance they were going to win this game, but a sliver of just some kind of momentum after Michael Richard returns that punt block for a touchdown, and then you get a fumble recovery on Jacksonville State's next offensive series, and then Hank Bachmeier, pressure in his face, throws a pick, and then you don't score again for the rest of the game. So that pretty much sums up why I just was surprised when Sonny Cumbie said that he was interested to see what level of fight this group had left and what he was going to take away from it. I guess, and maybe he already has internally, I guess I don't know what you would have taken away from this one game that you wouldn't have already known about your group through the first, 11 games of the season. This is an undisciplined team. This team has trouble tackling it. It literally, by season's end, it might be a bottom 3 rush defense in the entire country, especially after today. By the way, Jacksonville State sets a Conference USA record with 522 rushing yards. Conference USA record. This conference has been around for a number of decades now, and Louisiana Tech made history today. So, again, you're going to finish as a bottom 3 run defense in all likelihood. I just don't know what exactly you felt like you were going to learn out of your team today. Again, certainly as a coaching staff, I guess you would have wanted to see the score be a little bit closer, potentially pull out a win. But even if you won today, I guess I don't see the value. And I certainly, I guess from a morale standpoint, this team hasn't won in over 2 months, and now they're going to enter an off season for a couple more months without a win. But I don't think winning today's game would have all of a sudden, we enter this offseason with like, oh man, this is on the upward trajectory. Certainly Jacksonville State's a good team, and if you had found out a way to beat them, and certainly it would have been nice and it would have been encouraging, but I wasn't going to take it as some grand endorsement that this program is trending upwards, and that there's reason for hope to start the 2024 season. The facts are the facts; they speak for themselves. If you missed my post-game tweet, I'll lay down this fact for you. Since the 1919, 1917, and 1916 seasons, It's the first time since then that Louisiana Tech has finished with 3 straight seasons of less than 4 wins. And the 1918 season was not played because of the Spanish flu, the worldwide pandemic. I think that just says it all. Where this program is right now, objectively, you can comment all you want about Sonny Cumbie as a leader, as a football coach, the way he calls offense. That's all fine and good if you want to do that. But just from an objective speaking, I said this last week against Sam Houston, the numbers, just objective numbers, they speak to where this program is at. And I know Sonny Cumbie keeps talking about how he feels like they're making progress. I didn't get a chance to ask him, any questions post-game. The connection was poor on the Zoom call, so there was only time for about 2 or 3 questions from the Louisiana Tech radio people. But I would have wanted to ask him what makes him optimistic. He's always struck me as a guy that always sees the glass half full. He certainly has shown frustration this year, and obviously after this loss he certainly did, but I was just curious to see what exactly he feels like is the upward trajectory of this program. Where can he point to that this thing is going to get turned around? Because like I mentioned, next year they haven't obviously released the full conference schedule yet, but let's just pull up their 2024 schedule here real quick. Because as I mentioned last week, it's not exactly a walk in the park by any means, and to say differently I think is just wrong. So you open the year next year, you're home against Nicholls State. That should be a win in all likelihood. Then you go on the road to NC State, a very consistent ACC program. You're probably not going to fare well in that game. You come back home and play a pretty solid to not great Tulsa team out of the American Athletic Conference, and then you go on the road to Arkansas. So not exactly your non-conference schedule this year, where you played a really bad Nebraska team, you played a bottom 5 defense in North Texas, you played an FCS program in Northwestern State, and then you played an AAC contender in SMU. SMU was probably the best team that you've played this year, maybe outside of Liberty. I just don't know, just from an objective standpoint, I don't know where it can be pointed to that things are trending upward. Again, when you just look at who's coming back next year even, and Sonny Cumbie even mentioned it, that they have to improve their roster talent. I mean, he's not wrong, but if I remember correctly, isn't that what they spent all of this past season doing? Now, I know you can't fix an entire roster in one off season, but certainly it was made to. It seemed that way in the spring and summer. Of look at our linebackers, look at our defensive line, look at these tight ends that we brought in. You have the exact same win margin. So I don't know exactly what is going to change this offseason when, you're still operating at a deficit just in terms of what you can sell to recruits, the location of your program. I mean, there's just a lot of things working against you. And to just say, well, we just have to improve the roster talent, I thought that's what last season was for. You brought in Hank Bachmeier, you brought in Tyree Shelton, you brought in, Jesler Boateng, you brought in Miles Hurd. All these guys, they certainly contributed in different ways this year, but, it's still the same result. So, I guess I don't know exactly where the roster improvement is just going to all of a sudden make this a Conference USA contender. But like I mentioned briefly, of who's coming back next year, let's just run through who's not. For sure is not coming back. Smoke Harris is gone. Your best offensive threat is gone. After 6 years, he is gone. Deshaun Hall, your team leader in sacks, is gone. Your starting center, Abraham Delphin, is gone. One of your better linebackers this year, Jesler Boateng, is in all likelihood gone. Other linebacker, Hugh Davis, is gone. Probably your best defensive back, Willie Roberts at corner, is gone. And he's probably going to, either be drafted on day 3 of the NFL draft or be picked up as an NFL free agent. Miles Hurd is gone. Jarvis Thornton is gone. And then your kicker, Jacob Barnes, is gone as well. I mean, that's a lot to replace. And that they were on your team this year and you went 3-9. So I guess I don't know where exactly things are going to get improved. Sonny Cumbie has always struck me as a guy, like I said, who's had the glass half full mentality. And he acknowledged post-game, and I'll give him credit, he acknowledged post-game in his words, it was an embarrassing loss. This program is not in a position where it needs to be. He's right. But I don't see, at least publicly, and at least in the media settings, I don't see a true laid out vision. Now again, the season literally just ended less than an hour ago. So, maybe they got to get together as a staff and figure out where the direction is. But I just haven't heard that. And I don't want to call it, I don't want to call it just flat out denial, because he has said that it's not in a good place and it's embarrassing. But then at the same time, Sonny Cumbie keeps mentioning how things are trending upward. And you're 3-9 for the third straight year. So like I don't know where he sees it trending upward. Like again, you had a pretty solid, defensive backfield this year. You had some pretty good running back play considering the injuries that you were dealt with. Hank Bachmeier, when he did play, I thought was pretty good this year. I don't think to the level that was expected of him given his transfer portal status. But like other than that, I really can't point to anything that is like, here is a definitive marking point that this program is moving forward. And again, I really would have liked to ask, Sonny Cumbie that post game to hear kind of his specifics on that. But again, I know they've been high on this freshman class with Keith Willis. At running back, he had a pretty solid year. Michael Richard, again, like I mentioned, had a really productive freshman season. But I think the challenge is, and I think after what happened last season, I really don't think this can be ignored. Whether or not Tech fans and Tech coaches want to hear this, I think it's reality. You can't afford to lose Keith Willis and Michael Richard to the transfer portal. You just can't. You lost your best. I would probably say that Trey Harris was more productive and better than Smoke Harris was last year. You lost him to Ole Miss. Keevy Rose went to Arkansas. Forgetting who went to Tulane, just off the top of my head right now. But there's just so many guys that I just don't. I'm concerned if I'm a Louisiana Tech fan of if I'm Keith Willis, if I'm Michael Richard, like could they be gone? Like I think that's a real possibility. Like Eli Finley, like at tight end, he played a little bit this year. Like he'll probably be back, but like Willis and Richard, like I wouldn't be surprised if Power 5 coaches call, or other higher mid-major teams call, and are like, hey, why don't you come? And again, kind of like last year with Trey Harris, like I said at the end of last season, like you got to hope that this guy sticks around, and he didn't. And again, same with Cyrus Allen. Cyrus Allen, another pretty productive year. I think he really turned it on in the second half of the season. Could he be gone? I don't know. Hank Bachmeier technically has another year left of eligibility if he wants it. We haven't talked to Hank in a couple of weeks, so we haven't really gotten a sense of whether or not he would want to come back. He said he wanted to come to Louisiana Tech to be a winner. The first year didn't turn out that great, so I'm not sure if he's immediately looking for a fresh start once again. But again, that's another question mark. So again, when Sonny Cumbie talks about we're going to improve our roster and we have to figure out ways to do things better, like I feel like that's just the same answers that were given last year. Like, I mean, I don't have the quotes pulled in front of me, but that was pretty much the same exact response that was given last year after the loss to UAB to end the year. Was like, we have to lay out a clear direction of how to do things. We got to improve the roster talent. And again, like I said, I thought that's what this spring was. You brought in Hank, you brought in Tyree, you brought in all these linebackers, and you finished the exact same. Now again, whether or not within the next week I'm back on here, and Sonny Cumbie and the staff are fired, that's not a decision for me to make. That's a decision for Louisiana Tech Athletic Director, Eric Wood to make. Again, like I said last week in the Sam Houston video, and I'll say it again, I'm not here to say whether Sonny Cumbie should be fired. All I do is point out the facts. And the facts are, since it's the first time since the Spanish flu that this team has had 3 straight years of less than 4 wins. So you take with that what you will and who's responsible for that. But again, Louisiana Tech ends the 2023 season 3-9 overall and 2-6 in Conference USA. Be sure to stick around during the off season. Could be some news coming. Who knows? About this football program. So be sure to follow all of our work at therustandDailyLeader.com, and if something breaks, I'll be sure to come on here and do another Tech in 10 on that too. So, but for now, want to appreciate everyone for listening and following along this season. And I just want to thank everyone for watching Tech in 10. This has been a whole lot of fun to do. This is kind of a new thing that I've been trying to add, and hopefully everyone's been enjoying it. So, from the Rust and Daily Leader, I'm sports reporter Matt Belinson saying thanks for listening. Have a good one.